Science fiction is an existential metaphor. It allows us to tell stories about the human condition. Isaac Asimov once said, individual science fiction stories may seem as trivial as ever to the blinder critics and philosophers of today. But the core of science fiction, its essence, has become crucial to our salvation.
Tell me how many lights you see.
There are 4 lights!
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
Game over, man. It's game over.
All right. Well, welcome to the SciFi Diner podcast. My name is Scott Herzog.
Good afternoon. My name is Miles. Welcome.
And we're excited to be here at Farpoint, Miles.
2 long years, and it's nice to be with the fans again, hanging out, talking about the things we love.
Yeah. Well, talking about the things we love, we were on our way down talking about how this is kind of a funny story about our trip here to Farpoint. We were on our way to Farpoint yesterday talking about Sally Kellerman, who, of course,
sadly we lost her last Thursday.
This past Thursday. So literally a few days ago. That's not the funny part of the story. But what's funny about it, we were talking about it, we had a chance to interview her in 2011. And we thought, it'd be great to kind of put this interview up and share, this interview that we had done, I guess 12 years ago, or 11 years ago. I can't do math, don't judge. But, we thought, let's share this. So I began to look it up and said, okay, it has to be in the site somewhere. And I got to the site and our site had been hacked. Sending you to a medical site in Russia where you too can get your Viagra and everything else. So not what the SciFi Diner is about. We're not promoting that. So, of course, the good thing about it is we're on our way to a science fiction convention. Our medium is podcasting. And the only way you can hear a podcast is through our site. And of course, we're sending people to get Viagra in Russia. So, go figure.
Yes, that's not what you want to do.
It's not optimal. It doesn't help when you're pressed, right? So I was on the phone with GoDaddy, and they are supposedly taking care of it, although we checked just 5 minutes ago and it still wasn't up. So if you go to the SciFi Diner podcast.com site, unless you're looking for some medical stuff from Russia, you will not find us. But it will be up. It will be up. They are working on it, and it's unfortunately. You can visit us on our Facebook page. We're there as well, and maybe that's better luck of finding us there than our website right now.
But when our website is up, we have a really good catalog of past interviews with many of the guests at Farpoint and Shorely.
Yeah, many other places.
Many other places also.
Yeah, this is our, what did we say? What did we calculate? Our 13th year podcasting?
13 years, yeah.
13 years of your podcasting and over 500 episodes, so it's been a while.
Not many podcasts last that long.
No. In fact, statistically, I think they say that 7, you make it past 7 episodes and you continue to do it. Very few podcasts make it past the 7 podcasts. That's what it used to be. I don't know. It's been a little bit since I've researched it. But anyway, so Miles, we've been together for most of that.
Yes, we've been geeking out about the sci-fi we love for over 10 years.
Yeah, so you came in episode 8, I kicked out the priest that was podcasting with me.
Well,
it wasn't quite that simple. But seriously, the guy that I started the podcast with, the podcast originally started as Dining at the End of the Universe, which was a riff, of course, on Douglas Adams in a restaurant at the end of the universe. And I thought, let's do this. And so it was podcasting with a guy that I would just hang out with. It's Friday night, get together, watch Stargate, Battlestar Galactica, Doctor Who. And we would just talk about it. This stuff just as friends. We said, why don't we do a podcast on it? So we started it, and then about 8 episodes in, he decided he was legit going into the priesthood. And he said, you know what, I think I'm going to step back from this. We were doing another podcast at the time that I'd encountered Miles on called So a Protestant and Catholic Walk into a Bar was the name of the podcast. So it's kind of an ecumenical look at some of these different ideas, and he stepped back from that one as well because he was worried that the Catholic seminary may not look too fondly on it. So whatever. But from then on, we've been together, and our very first podcast was on The Watchmen.
Yeah, a bunch of us went to go see The Watchmen in theaters, and you had the brilliant idea. Let's just record our thoughts and what we thought of the movie.
All I remember about that mile was a discussion about how Dr. Manhattan's there on the screen,
The naked blue guy.
the naked blue guy on the screen, and there's people in the theater with their like 4 and 5 year old kids.
Small
And I'm like, okay then. So
I guess they couldn't
to
find
each your own, right? To each your own. That's just the way it goes. But many podcasts later, many interviews later, here we are, and it's great to be back at Farpoint and being here live after last year's kind of mini virtual event and seeing people around and seeing all the cosplay and interviewing all the people who've gotten interviewed.
Yeah, and like for me, I've been away for 2 years. All of us been away for a while. I think there's other conventions that may have been happening, but this is the first con I've been in 2 years. It's great to see like-minded people, hanging out, enjoying what we enjoy, seeing people in these cool costumes again, and just going to these panels. I haven't seen the celebrity guests yet. I'm looking forward to hearing their panels tomorrow, but this con and Shirley were two highlights of my year. So the fact that they're happening again is great.
It's pretty awesome. It's definitely pretty awesome. We do have, later on, we're going to be talking about various topics, and you're more than welcome to chime in here. We have a microphone up here if you do want to chime in and kind of share a little bit just about what we're talking about. So what's next on our agenda, Miles? So we've had a chance to do a couple interviews. We sat down with Zahn yesterday.
Yes.
And Mara Jade today, and that was some very cool. There were some authors that we interviewed along the way.
Yeah, the great thing is, there's a lot of authors just trying to get their work on the ground, and Farpoint's given them a forum, ways to introduce their work. And if you're looking for some new reading material, this convention has lots of authors here that are trying to put out their stories, and check them out.
Yeah, very good. Well,
but the big show I was on last year on Disney Plus, Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, started last year, ended just a few weeks ago, right? And so let's talk a little bit about Boba Fett. So
Star Wars fans have been wanting some kind of live action Boba Fett for years. Own movie. The idea of a Star Wars show wasn't even on the radar at the time, so maybe a Boba Fett movie. There's been some Boba Fett novels, but Disney Plus finally gave us a
so Boba Fett was always relegated to the level of the Legends books, right? You had the whole Legends series. He was back in those, and you saw him make various appearances over the years in the various Star Wars books. The story was he climbed down the Sarlacc pit, and all that. And so I am glad that when we got the show, they played homage to that history in somewhat the way I imagined.
Yeah, I agree. You figured Boba Fett did suffer injuries in the Sarlacc pit, and they did address that. He needed, continued treatments from the back of the tank, but yeah, it was. There was a graphic novel about how Boba Fett survived, and like you said, they did pay homage, and it's pretty much how we imagined Boba Fett getting himself out of there.
I think the other thing, I was talking to one of our other co-hosts who's not here. We podcast with 3 other people that just couldn't make it this weekend to the con. But I was talking to him about it, that one of the things I liked about Boba Fett is I felt like they redeemed the Sand People to some degree. The Sand People have always been so vicious, right? They're the one, like Star Wars, they were brutal, especially when you look at Attack of Clones and what they did to Anakin's mom, and there's brutality to them. But I felt like they were almost humanized in some way. Their own tribe, their own culture, their own way of honor. And I felt that we got to see that in Boba Fett.
Yes, they weren't just the other. They were a group of people. They had their own code of honor, and they weren't just looked at as just another bad guy that Luke Skywalker or somebody else had to deal with. They were a group of people that had that had their own, that were own code of decency and honor, and that got explored more.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, and it was interesting, there was a sense of loss then when they were all slaughtered, right?
Yeah.
And it's also, for Boba Fett, this is the first time, like anytime you've seen Boba Fett before, it's been Boba Fett, the guy in the armor, the bounty hunter, pretty straightforward, not much conversation. When he's thrown in with the Sand People, he becomes part, or earns his way as being part of that community.
Right. And he's not just, yes, he has something to give, but they have something to give to him too.
Yeah, which he uses in the very last episode.
Yes.
Which I have problems with, but I'll get there. But yeah, so I thought that the implementation, the way they worked with the Sand People was good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the Marshal, good to see the Marshal back.
There were some nice callbacks to the Mandalorian in that show.
Yeah, well, this was, they said Mandalorian 2.5, right?
Many fans did. Scott and I did like Boba Fett. Some fans didn't like it as much. I understand, it's a
Well,
little
for a bunch of episodes, you didn't even get Boba Fett. Or, like, you got extended shit.
Yeah.
It's so pretty low key regarding that.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, it was interesting to see the way they put her back together. With the, I want to call them the mechanic, but that's something else. But whatever they call those people
That gang that modifies
the mods.
The mods,
Yeah,
yes,
the mod
they augment themselves with droid parts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So interesting to see that's the way they're putting the Marshal back together. It seems like at the end.
That's how they're healing them up. Yeah, how they heal Fennec Shan.
So you feel like in a way they kind of jumped the shark when around episode 5 suddenly it's the Mandalorian and no longer Boba Fett, which was like we had 2 episodes in there, Book of Boba Fett but no Boba Fett.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what they were doing. I was happy to see the Mandalorian again, but it was odd that we weren't going to see Boba Fett in this whole episode.
Odd to see. It was great to see Grogu back.
It was. It was great to
And
see.
Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Ahsoka.
And Ahsoka, the mechanic who fixed Mando's ship in season 1 and 2. It was great to see her back.
Right. Yeah, she was funny. She's the comedy in that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it felt like it did jump ship a little bit, kind of in the middle of it. But then, of course, it's brought back around toward the end.
Quite a battle scene between Boba Fett and his group against the
Pike Syndicate.
Pike Syndicate. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, my issue with the very last episode is Cad Bane. So I love Cad Bane. I've loved Cad Bane since Rebels, loved Cad Bane in Clone Wars, and loved Cad Bane with the limited, he was in the Bad Batch. And then they bring him in the first time in live action, the very last 2 episodes, and they kill him off right away. Like, that's the way it felt to me. I felt a sense of loss. And because the moment you see him out in the desert walking toward town, and it's Cad Bane. And I was excited because he's almost like what Boba Fett was in the original trilogy. This baddie that's kind of out there, a bounty hunter that you don't cross. And it felt like they eliminated him. Maybe Disney and, Favreau and all those know what they're doing, and they have bigger plans down the line. But for me, I felt like that was a bit of a loss. So,
I didn't have as much attachment to Cad Bane as you did.
yeah.
But Boba Fett needed to have a dragon in his life.
I did hear the complaint that Boba Fett talked too much. What do you think of that?
Well, the show's named after him, so it's about
You
his.
can't have a show without him talking, right?
Man,
He does need to talk.
he was just a supporting character in the original trilogy, but this is a show devoted to him. He's got to talk.
Now, is it correct? This is just like a one-off. Are they going to be doing another season?
I haven't heard if they're doing a season 2 of Boba Fett or not. That's a good question.
Yeah, my understanding is kind of one-off. But we have Obi-Wan to look forward to in the Star Wars universe coming down the pipe.
Right, and there's talk of an Ashoka series sometime.
Yeah, that'll be coming down. So,
So this will be more live action Star Wars, new live action Star Wars on Disney's Plus. Mandalorian coming back next year for the third season.
And looking forward to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what else, Miles?
So Mando gets a new ship in the book Boba Fett.
He does. The Naboo Starfighter, right?
While it was nice to see that back, I'm more partial to the Razor's Crest, and I feel Mando needs a bigger ship. He needs the Razor's Crest was an RV. He could travel the galaxy.
Right, you can like have all sorts of people in there with him.
Yeah.
Right. It's great to see Grogu in the little droid port. It's just, yeah.
So I see it as a temporary thing. He's going to need a bigger ship if he's going to be, on the road a lot. He's going to need.
And not the only callback to the Clone Wars with the droids that come in. There was the spider-like droids coming into the city at the end in the final battle.
Mm-hmm.
That's also kind of a callback because we haven't seen those since, before Star Wars: A New Hope. Because they were gone after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So this is kind of they're bringing back old droid stuff. So some nice callbacks, but felt a little bit out of place in the universe we're in. But it would make sense that this stuff would still be around. Like they wouldn't have been totally destroyed or wiped out. Right?
I'm sure, and I'm sure the black market would have sold this to the Pikes.
And it makes sense that they would be around.
Yes.
Like that you would have relics of these sitting around, even though we didn't see them in the original 3 movies.
It made for a very, very cool battle scene.
It did.
And the battle scene was amazing.
What did you think of Boba Fett and Rancor?
It's just nice seeing a Rancor again.
Yeah.
I thought it was great that Mando tried to ride and tame the Rancor, and he failed at it. Grogu, though, was successful.
Yeah, that taming is making him sleep. I did like when he flew off, I'm like, he's going to get the Rancor. And so when that claw comes up over the edge of the wall, I'm like, oh yeah, bring it on. So it was great to see them. And because they alluded to that with the, call him Machete Man, the guy that was the tamer.
Danny Trejo.
Yeah, Danny Trejo. So he's in there, right? And so I like, when he said that he could ride him, like, they don't drop that in there without bringing that full circle.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I knew we were going to see the Rancor again.
And to see him riding.
Mm-hmm.
It's also so yeah, I spoke of Boba Fett, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. Someone said that we have to get off Tatooine, and Obi-Wan looks like we're getting more of Tatooine.
Yes.
Unless we get flashbacks in other places, but I mean that's where he's supposed to be, right?
He's supposed to be in Tatooine for the next 20 years until
Right.
Luke comes of age. And
Of course, it doesn't mean he has to be in Tatooine the whole time.
I suppose he could take a trip back and then has to return because he still has to make sure he protects Luke.
Right.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to Kenobi too.
And we know that Hayden Christensen is coming back from that, right?
We did hear.
So flashbacks, maybe.
Possible flashbacks, yeah. But hey, we did the live action Star Wars, more new live action Star Wars, and I like it in this format. The movies are great, but having a 6 or 7 episode, you can really tell a better, fuller story. I think.
I think that the movies after the last 3 movies, the Final Jedi, the Last Jedi, and the Force Awakens. After these movies, I'm okay with not having movies for a little bit because they just didn't gel as well as we wished. There were some good moments about them, but they just were not the favorite.
Yeah, probably the movie out of that batch of movies, probably the one I enjoyed the most was Rogue One.
Yeah, that wasn't even a part of the trilogy.
Which you're right, it was.
That was like, yeah, Rogue One was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what Disney does with the movies eventually. Yeah.
We'll see what they do.
Yeah. So what else have you been watching, Miles? Have you been into?
I'm really enjoying Superman Lois on the CW. I think.
Which I have not seen.
So I really like what they've done. After Crisis, they sort of rebooted Superman in a way. He's married to Lois. They have 2 teenage boys, fraternal twins. You find out one is showing powers, the other one isn't. You know, first season they dealt with Superman finds out he has a half brother, and I'm gonna be spoiling folks. So if you don't want to know, sorry, but I won't be too spoilery. The second one, he's dealing with Bizarro. It's a new take on Bizarro, which I think is great. But the writing is just superb. I think it doesn't feel like a CW show. It really feels like something else. But in conversing with people on Facebook about this, it's like, yep, it's still part of the Arrowverse, but Crisis, rebooted everything. So even them. So that's why it's got a different look and feel.
So I have not kept up with the CW superhero shows. I watched the first season or 2 of Arrow, maybe watched one episode of The Flash, and then one episode of Supergirl, and kind of didn't really follow it. But you followed most of them, right?
I followed a lot of it. I mean, I followed The Flash pretty faithfully. I followed Legends of Tomorrow pretty faithfully. Watched a little Supergirl. I haven't watched any in a while. But I followed Arrow when Arrow was on.
So now they're calling it the Arrowverse.
Yes, they're calling all these the Arrowverse. Yeah. And there's talk now that HBO might be acquiring these shows sometime in the not too distant future. It's not chiseled in stone yet, but it's. I can see that. It seems like HBO is acquiring other DC properties.
Right. So they're planning to become the DC magnet. Maybe?
They'll be the yes. They'll be the ones.
Maybe we'll get some better DC movies out of the batch. There were some good ones, but
it's hard to say.
Hard to say.
But
you recommend Superman?
I think Superman Lois is excellent. It's a whole new.
Do you think it's one of the better written shows that would come out of that in the Arrowverse?
Definitely, yeah.
So if I were to check out one, can I just leap into Superman and Lois, or do I have to go into some other?
No,
episodes?
That's the great thing is because you don't have to be familiar with the Arrowverse. You can start at episode 1, season 1, and pick up from there. There's only been one. There's been 2 characters from the Arrowverse we've seen the show, but you don't have to be fully aware of what they did before. I mean, Lois' sister is a character in season 2. Deagle makes an appearance in season 1, but it's not. You're not going to.
It's not essential.
It's not essential.
Not essential for what we were doing.
Right.
All right, we're good. Well, I may have to check it out then.
Mm-hmm.
I have to check it out.
Mm-hmm. I thought Hawkeye was pretty good this past on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah, yes, that is kind of Christmas, but we really haven't had a con since Christmas, obviously. So Hawkeye was certainly a fantastic show.
Right.
With Katniss Everdeen in it.
Yeah.
No.
I'm sure.
Kate Bishop.
I'm sure people, maybe more people are taking up archery now.
Yeah. Makes them want. I mean, it was a good show. I love how in the later of it, since the new series that have come out in the Marvel Universe, they've been dealing with these characters aging.
Yes, and even
they're dealing with their trauma.
Their health is even failing. I mean,
right.
To a point, yeah.
And Hawkeye is losing his hearing. He doesn't jump back from fights quite as fast.
Right.
So I like that they do explore that because this is realistically up till then, or here up till Endgame, our heroes were invincible.
Yes, and he's one of the few superheroes that really has no superpowers of his own. He's just a super soldier, basically, but a trained super soldier, not a manufactured one. I mean, so, and he's a normal guy, has a family too. Very understanding wife.
I question what her role in all this is.
I think she has an interesting history that we will eventually learn.
I hope we learn it. Like that watch, there's significance in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see what her connection is to everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked it. I thought that the tracksuit bandits were a bit of a funny comedy in the middle of all that.
Yeah, they still have that. One thing when you see a Marvel, an MCU movie, you expect something from the dialogue. Even your bad guys are funny, so you expect snappy dialogue. I mean, there's a scene when Kate Bishop's fighting Alina. She says, "Stop making me like you," and she's like, "I can't help it,"
Right.
But that's what.
Now she was fun. I loved her role.
Oh, Alina.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She was fantastic.
Right.
And a great tie-in to Black Widow earlier last year.
Yes. I wonder if she'll be the new Black Widow in later projects.
It'd be great to see that.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be great to see that. Mm-hmm. And Kingpin, they bring Kingpin in from Daredevil.
Yes, they did, and that was a nice little crossover there.
Yeah. And he's still around. They didn't kill him off.
No, and it seems like and they didn't arrest him either, so he's still out there. We'll see him again.
Somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Marvel, we both saw the Eternals, which got panned at the box office pretty well, but we watched it later on, and I went in with pretty low expectations because of everything. And it wasn't the worst movie I've seen.
I don't think it was as bad. I just don't think it's very memorable. And
And maybe that's the issue. Like Marvel has set we were talking about this earlier, that Marvel has set such a high standard in their movies. When you get one that maybe doesn't carry itself the way the others did, it seems like it's a very bad movie. And it's not terrible.
it's like, yeah, it's just, after I saw it, I was like, that was nice. I don't
I
necessarily.
was entertained. Like if a movie's meant to entertain me, it entertained me.
I just feel like I don't need to see more. If there's more, I thought, this was good, and I move on. But I think that Marvel probably hoping they can get another, franchise, get some more movies out of this one. But I don't think they will.
There was at the end. There's allusions to in Eternals too.
Yes.
Do you think they'll follow through?
I think they were hoping for it, but I don't think it got the.
It depends on what this greater arc is. If it's needed to play into the greater arc.
And if there is some.
I mean, whose brother do we see at the end that shows up? I forget. That cameo at the end. Thanos' brother? Was it Thanos' brother?
Was that Thanos' brother? Yeah, now you say that. But see, I mean, I watched it and I barely remember it.
Yeah,
so
you can't even recall the name, right? Maybe
So-
that's telling in and of itself, right?
So it was just, that's the best way to describe this movie. It was nice, but kind of just forgettable.
Which I guess, so it's not often that the Marvel does that for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they do with it. See how they pick that up.
This past year, we also, once our site's fixed, we went through all the Star Trek pilots. We just wanted kind of a fresh look at them, and we tried to have an author with us when we could look at those. So, if you want to hear an interesting conversation about the Star Trek pilots, all of them, we reviewed all those last year.
John Jackson was on. We had Dave Ward.
Dave Ward was with us on one.
Larry Nemechek.
Keith Canado
Yes.
was on the Voyager one.
And Doug Drexler, who's not an author.
No, but we did. Doug Drexler joined us for one of our shows. We were going to talk about Deep Space Nine because he had a heavy influence on as far as the visual effects on Deep Space Nine, but it was more about talking about him, his life, and his career in Star Trek.
Which was fine.
Which was great.
Was what we were planning on, right?
Yeah, we were planning on talking about Deep Space Nine, but we ended up talking more about what, everything he's had his hand in when it comes to Star Trek. He's had a very fascinating career. And he's fighting cancer right now, so, keep him in your thoughts and prayers as he continues to go this journey and hopefully recovery.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of Star Trek, are you keeping up with the new Discovery?
I am. I've been watching Discovery and enjoying it.
And what are you thinking of season 4?
Some of the pushback is that they're dealing with another universe-ending crisis, and that doesn't bother me so much. There's some interesting fan theories. Who is there's this mysterious thing, we're calling it the dark matter anomaly, and it's going through solar systems. And the best comparison I come up with is actually Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Those aliens that come to Earth and destroy the Earth, but before they destroy the Earth, they tell the people, it's like, look, we've already filed the necessary paperwork.
Right.
You people got to,
Putting in a superhighway, we're good.
you need to pay attention more to interstellar politics and they blow up the Earth, and that's what this group sort of reminds me in a tongue-in-cheek sort of way. They're going through solar systems. They say they're building something. That's why they're destroying. They're not just destroying planets for the sake of destroying them. And they're trying to understand it. But they're doing a lot of nice callbacks to Star Trek from other things from Star Trek before. Saw Changeling in one episode. They talked the galactic barrier, which they talked about more in the original series. They're dealing with that here. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. But more than anything, I'm really looking forward to Picard. I think
With that coming down the pike in just a few weeks.
Just a few weeks, so we'll see Picard. I'm looking forward to that.
That will be good. Yeah, that Q and Picard is going to be phenomenal. It'll be great to see him now.
Right. It'll be an interesting time travel episode. But I'm hoping it'll be more, I'm looking forward to the philosophical wrestling that Picard and Q did throughout the Next Generation. Hopefully there'll be more of that in this too.
Any word on any of the cameos coming out for Picard?
The only one we definitely know about, Whoopi Goldberg is reprising her
Oh
voice.
yes, because she's in the trailer.
Yeah, but otherwise I haven't heard anything else. I was hoping, this next one would be more of we would see some more of the cast from TNG. I mean, when we saw the first season of Picard, we saw Riker and Troy make an appearance. I mean, I think that was probably everybody's favorite episode of the whole thing, because
Right.
we want to see Picard and get back together with the band.
And when he shows up at the end, right? When Riker shows up,
Yeah.
flying a ship at the end, absolutely incredible. And of course, 7
Yeah, 7-9 is a great addition to this as well.
Yeah, so Picard's coming down. We're looking forward to Picard, and you're looking forward to
Strange New Worlds, the Captain Pike series. I think that's coming out in May.
probably after Picard is done.
Yeah.
Is CBS's goal still to have Trek on all the time? Like new Trek coming down all the time?
I think so. I think when one series wraps up, then another series will take its place. I think the goal is to eventually have a Star Trek series, 12 months out of the year.
Do you think that we're going to be tired of Trek?
There's always the risk of franchise fatigue.
Like Trek fatigue or something like that.
Yeah. Hopefully, as long as the shows are good, I think we'll be okay.
And it's an interesting blend between live action and animation right now.
Yeah.
Maybe that variety too.
If it's something different, a really different Trek, the next.
I mean, you have the humor and the parody that Lower Decks is, so it's not really traditional Trek per se.
Yeah. Well, and the new one, Prodigy, I mean, it's sort of similar to other Trek. It's all CGI, Trek. But they've done some things to harken back to the Trek that came before.
Right. And that's one that Janeway is part of?
Yeah, Hologram Janeway's part of that.
The
Yeah.
Hologram Janeway. So it'll be great to have her back in the universe too.
Yeah, so we had season 1 wrapped up a few weeks ago, and I'm not sure when season 2 will be out, but I'm pretty sure we'll get a season 2.
And you watched?
I did. I watched and enjoyed the Prodigy. Yeah.
Good. I have not. So I I watched Discovery up to the end of season 3, and then I have not watched season 4. So a little bit aware of what's going on, but I just haven't kept up with that. Actually, what I'm rewatching right now with my son is The Mandalorian. So
That's a good thing to rewatch.
it is. So we're like we actually are up to the final episode of season 1.
Okay.
So we're almost through season 1, and maybe we'll watch season 2.
Mhm.
So we'll go from there. But, yeah, very cool. So as far as movies coming down the pike, anything you're looking forward to this year movie-wise?
The new Batman intrigues me. That's coming out in a few weeks.
Yeah, it's one that with the Sparkly Vampire.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's all when I think of Robert Pattinson. When I was thinking that's all it is, right? Doesn't now, mind you, the trailer in no way looks like he's a sparkly vampire. I'm just saying that it's him. The actor doesn't, and he doesn't look very sparkly in this trailer. That's for sure. It looks kind of brutal. This will be our first angry, vengeful Batman that we've seen.
Christian Bale, I thought, was angry and vengeful at times.
Yeah, but not like this.
But this is taking it to a whole new level.
Yeah, this is leveling him up on his angry and vengeance. And I mean, you kind of get, like, if your parents are killed and you don't deal with this crap, that you're gonna
Turn out like that.
Yeah, you're turning. It's a different side of Batman that we see coming out, and I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to see this in theaters. You planning to see this in theaters?
I might see it in theaters. My girlfriend sort of has an interest in it, so she wants to see it.
Because there's a sparkly vampire. That's the only
Maybe.
reason she's watching.
I'm going to have to ask her if she's a Twilight fan. I don't know, that's...
Team Edward or Jacob?
So, yeah. If you're a Twilight fan, so, sorry, I do like to do a film with Twilight.
Yeah, but yeah. So, but you're looking forward to that. Who is the? Do they have a villain in that movie?
The Riddler is going to be the...
Okay. Yeah.
So,
And that drops this next month, right?
yeah, coming out in a few weeks, yeah.
Very good. Well, let me know if you go see it. Maybe
I will.
Maybe I'll go see it with you. Maybe. Probably won't take Kiefer.
No, this is good nightmares.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else this year that I'm really stoked about. I actually haven't kept up with the movie scene quite as well. I've been reading. I finished the Last Expanse book that had dropped, and I'm rereading Lord of the Rings. Andy Serkis reading Fellowship of the Ring. So I own Fellowship of the Ring on paperback. I own it on Audible in one version, and now I own it on another version because, after all, you can't have too many Lord of the Rings hanging around.
And if you don't have Andy Serkis version...
I know, if you don't have Andy Serkis reading it, then do you really have Lord of the Rings is a really big question.
Yeah.
But I'm almost through it and absolutely love it.
Good.
So he does a great job. So, although Gollum still hasn't voiced himself yet, so we won't get that till the next book. But my understanding is they plan to have him read all 3.
Mhm.
So, which means I have to rebuy all 3. That's all right.
I'm sure you'll be okay with that.
Yeah. You can twist my arm. So I'm doing that. I'm reading that right now. It's kind of the thing that I'm into.
Mhm.
And as far as what are you reading right now? You're into time travel stuff, right?
Yeah, so I'm just looking on Amazon and just looking at time travel novels, and some of them, a lot of authors are just, they're just getting started out. They don't even have paperback versions of their books, but they have Kindle versions of their books, and so they're very affordable. And so I'm just getting my hands on whatever time travel novels are available for the Kindle. To read a lot of those, I think.
And speaking of time travel, did you finish La Brea?
I did watch it to the end, yes.
And did you like it?
I did like it, yeah.
Because that's time travel, right?
It is. Mm-hmm.
It is. Because I never watched. I think I tried the first episode. I tried twice,
Okay,
and I didn't make it very far.
so.
It didn't catch me, but I'm glad that you liked it. I knew that you loved time travel as part of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Speaking of time travel, there's an interesting time travel that was on HBO Max. It was produced in Norway. It's called Be Foreigners, and it's been on ran for 2 seasons. I'm hoping they'll have a season 3. But the premise is these time warps, for lack of a better word, open up in the the waters in Norway, in the ocean, and lakes and rivers, and people from 3 different time periods are coming out of it. People from the prehistoric era, people from the Viking era, and people from the 19th century. And it's the first episode, you see this phenomena happen, and then they fast forward 15 years, and
So it's a TV series.
it's a TV series on HBO.
And did it just start?
It's not that old, but it's already ran for 2 seasons.
Okay. All right.
Season 2 is running this year because I had to wait each week for a new episode to drop. But now they have these people from different time periods, so they're just part of the story is integrating them to society, and it takes place, it's a police station. One of the new cops, she's from the ancient Norse period. She was a Viking, but that was an interesting time travel series. Just people from different time periods, their worldviews, butting up against other people's worldviews, and trying to work with that.
So what is the name of the series again?
Be Foreigners.
Before.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you for those of you that did join us here, the few of you that are here, and we appreciate that. If you do want to find out more about us, we're on the SciFi Diner podcast.com. When it's not redirecting you to a medical site, but it will be, that should be up and running today sometime. And obviously our Facebook page, you can check it out then. But wow, it was good chatting with you here again.
Likewise, thank you for joining us
And
today.
it's good to be here at Farpoint 2022. So.